Welcome into a weekend edition here of the Sports Ball Grinder. Glad to have you along. We are headed all the way headlong into NCAA tournament time. We'll get around to some of that. We'll talk a little NFL free agency today, a few other notes along the way as well. But first off, thanks for joining us. Subscribe wherever you listen to this show, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. We're in all the places. Go ahead and hit that subscribe. That way you'll always get the latest show when it comes out. And if you want to, you can follow the show's Facebook page, Sports Ball Grinder. Just search for Sports Ball Grinder on Facebook. You'll find us there. And, of course, you can always find us in all of your podcast apps the same way. Quick show note. So we'll do this one today, and then we will do a Selection Sunday show. It won't come out until Monday morning, but you will get a big review of the NCAA tournament. That'll get you set up to turn in that bracket. I know you're like me. You're ready to fill that thing out and watch it turn into complete flames in the first week. But that's half the fun of the NCAA tournament. So we'll get into some of that this weekend and for next week. So that'll be the early next week show. Usually we do a Tuesday show. Won't do one on Tuesday next week. We'll have the tourney show early on, and then we will do a show latter part of the week to talk about what's going on and any other big news of the time. Before we get to tournament time, though, I want to talk a little NFL free agency, and I'm not going to go team by team. I just want to talk about some teams I think are doing it right and are doing things that are signaling to you what this means. But first, don't get too lost in free agency signings and goings, all right? It's important. It matters. But it's not the entire way a team is built. It's an entire offseason. It's the fun part, if you ask me. I love this part. I love watching transactions, watching teams try to fill in holes, watching teams and try to figure out their strategy. And when they let a guy go or when they go after a certain thing, what they're trying to do. I think it's fun. I think it signals to you what is to come, as a fan of a team. And it should be read into the record right now that the Bears in Chicago are clearly going with a lot different energy with Ben Johnson as head coach. The influence he's having on Ryan Poles, or whether or not he's making the calls and Poles is just kind of going along with it, whatever. But they are clearly doing the new sheriffs in town routine because this is not how they've operated. And the fact that they went and signed Drew Dahlman and Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson to fortify that interior line means Ben Johnson looked at last year and saw Caleb Williams constantly running for his life and said, you guys don't know how to draft linemen. We're going to fix that right now. Is Caleb Williams the guy? We're going to find out real fast because we're going to protect him. And when he's got time, we're going to see what he can do. But they are done messing around. And it's about time because they're in a division that's not going to be easy to get over on. All right, the Lions are still really good, especially if they can bring back some of what got injured. I mean, their whole defense at one time was injured by the end of last season. They've definitely got an explosive offense. Green Bay is a team that is still one of the youngest teams in the league, so it's pretty much the same team coming back next year. If they take the step forward, you're going to be fighting them. I happen to think Chicago and Green Bay are going to be fighting each other for that second spot in the NFC North. And then you get the Vikings, who aren't bad, but they're going to be a different look. I don't buy the Aaron Rodgers rumors going there. I think they're going to go with J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. So it's going to be a rookie quarterback. We'll see what he's got. We'll know really fast whether or not that's going to work. Because Kevin O'Connell can coach offense. He can coach quarterbacks. I do think it'll work. But it may take a year. Somebody's got to finish fourth. And I don't think it's going to be Chicago. In fact, I think it may come down to the last weekend, a couple weekends there where they're fighting Green Bay for a playoff spot. Chicago is clearly making a statement, though, that we need to fix this offensive line, and we're going to do it right now. We're going to plug these veteran pieces in to make sure we're right about rookie quarterback. Because if you hit on a young quarterback with that window, you want to get them before you got to overpay them. All right? Because then you have to start moving different pieces of the assets around to the board. Even though the cap goes up every year, it seems like. Still going to cost a lot to do business. You want to hit in that window so that you've got something to build around. But if you get your rookie quarterback destroyed, well, then you're going to watch them join their third team, inside of 5 years. Say hello to Mac Jones, who's now in San Francisco. The Bills and the Rams are also signaling to you that we're going for it right now. We are in the window. We know we are. The Rams clearly are. They re-signed Matt Stafford. They worked the deal out. They've already got Puka Nacua. They let Cooper Kupp go. They signed Devontae Adams. And you say, hey, gosh, they traded some 30-something-year-old wide receiver for another one. No offense to Cooper Kupp. He's not Devontae Adams. They got two great receivers out there now. Got a good tight end in Higbee. Kyron Williams is a great running back. They've got the thing. And they were real close. And all of their young players are on defense. They are in the window of young defense. So this is what happens with a team. You're either in the window of young quarterback and you build veteran defense around it, some veteran offensive players, you go on the run, or you're in the window of veteran quarterback. We're going to put younger pieces around him on offense, but we're really going to make sure that defense is good to go. That Rams line is good. Now they got to replace Jonah Jackson, but they're pretty good at drafting, pretty good at player development there. For all the forget them picks jokes, Les Need and company in LA know what they're doing. The Rams are going for it. The Bills are going for it too. They restructured Josh Allen, long-term deal, got him signed up. And then what do? They go grab Joshua Palmer from the Chargers, another good wide receiver to go in that room. Flesh that out. They found a running game last year, not only with Allen, but some of the backs, James Cook in particular. They re-signed Greg Rousseau, and what do they put opposite of him? They let Von Miller go, and they go and grab Joey Bosa for nothing. He was just hanging out there. It's a one-year deal. It's a great deal. You can still draft, get depth there. Bills are going for it, for sure. But the team that I think might be the most low-key, brilliant approach to the offseason is the San Francisco 49ers. Hear me out. You go, gosh, they let go of all these contributors. All these guys are gone. Yeah. But what do they got in their place? 12 draft picks. 12. And they're about to have to pay Brock Purdy. And they don't want to max deal him out. They're going to come to a good agreement on that, I think. And then they're going to be able to load up and go again. They know this. We're better off with Purdy than we are anybody else because he works in our system. We got to keep him healthy. We got to get him straight on the contract. And he's better off with us because would he work everywhere else? Probably not. So you got to give that guy the pay. But you don't have to max him out again. Be smart about it. I'm sure they will. They let go of Deebo Samuel, traded him off to Washington, got a fifth-rounder back, but you got that out of the room. They're probably going to deal Brandon Ayuk, or at least try to. They're going to get younger all around it. They let go of Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, Drake Greenlaw, Fana, the safety. They let all these guys go. Let go of a star corner. Why? Because they were getting hurt, and they were getting expensive. When you have to start tying up all of your assets along the way, and then you have to pay the quarterback, guess what? There's nothing left. And you're just hitting your head against the ceiling. Hello, Miami Dolphins. You keep running back the same expensive thing all the time, and it never gets anywhere. San Francisco is smart. John Lynch is a great GM. It's good ownership. Kyle Shanahan is an incredible coach. He's one of the top 5 coaches in the league. They know that. So they're going to let him reload. Now, it's going to be rough. Next year may not be pretty because it's going to be a lot of young talent. But they get through that, all these other teams are going to have to start paying people. And then what's going to happen? There's that young San Francisco team with experience. Now, after a couple of years, right back to make another run. I think they are hitting it brilliantly this offseason. And that's why you got to be patient as a fan with some of these things. You don't always see all of the machinations of what's happening. All right. Just know that there's a plan in place, or at least hope your team has a plan in place. Now, there's reason to believe there's not hope, for some places. The Dallas Cowboys, not really sure what's going on there, but it's not good, and it hasn't been good for a long time, and it's probably not going to be good anytime soon. So, can't help you on that one. The New Orleans Saints, kick that can down the road. Finally, it's time to deal with it. You got to manage the cap smart. You can't keep doing that. You can do it for a while, but at some point you got to make the decision. Hey, we're just gonna eat it in the ground, and then we're gonna have to figure this out. There's a couple of things going on out there though that I don't know, like the Jets. That's another team. feel bad for Justin Fields. I don't think we'll ever know what he could have been in the NFL because he's been on defensive-minded teams with, bad offensive coordination, and it's just never changed for him. We don't know what he's going to be. He goes from Chicago, defensive team at the time, led by a defensive head coach. That doesn't work out. He goes to the Steelers, defensive team that's almost like criminally averse to offense. And now where's he going? To the Jets, led by a really brilliant but defensive coordinator. They're going to want to not take chances on offense. They're not getting anywhere. I don't know. Maybe it works out for him. Hope he invests well. But doesn't look good. But free agency isn't entirely over because, of course, the 41-year-old albatross in the room, Aaron Rodgers, still out there, seemingly in a dance with the Pittsburgh Steelers or the New York Giants. And while he waits to make his decision, it's like, I will be taking my talents to fill in the blank. We'll find out soon, on the next episode of American Idol. It's exhausting. Aaron Rodgers finally got too high maintenance for most of the league to even bother anymore. Look at New York and look at Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh, you can say, they never have losing seasons. Yeah, they don't win playoff games either. They're not a really good offensive team. They haven't been in a long time. Big Ben covered up a lot of stuff for them. And after he's left, it's been just a disaster. And the Giants are a bad front office. They got an offensive-minded head coach. They make a few decent draft picks here and there, but they also make some bad ones. And they make bad decisions on the wrong players. And you're going into a situation where coach and GM might both be gone by the end of the season. Or they might both come back. We don't know. It's really volatile. And then you want to take Aaron Rodgers, who incredibly talented. All right, one of the best quarterbacks of the last generation, Hall of Famer, yada, yada, all that. But he's not that anymore. Now he's just this really high drama, high maintenance problem that you think you're going to be getting this gunslinger who can just put the ball anywhere he wants to in the field, and he can when he wants to. But is he going to want to? Do you know? Hard to tell. Aaron Rodgers has become too high maintenance for most of the league to bother with. That's why the Indianapolis Colts didn't even bother. They signed Daniel Jones to push Anthony Richardson. Daniel Jones, not a bad guy, a smart guy, but not a great quarterback. Will never live up to where he was drafted. And he was the chip that the Giants decided to double down on and let Saquon Barkley go, who, by the way, waves with his Super Bowl ring now in his new contract in Philadelphia. And I get it. Yeah, you don't pay running backs. You pay the great ones. Tennessee paid Derrick Henry when it was time. Now he left, and he's doing great things in Baltimore. They had to make that decision, but they did him right, Great running backs get that second run, that third contract sometimes. Saquon Barkley was worth it. He was worth it. They knew it, and they didn't do it because quarterback is the most important position on the field. It is. And if you think you got one, you got to go for it. They messed up. I don't know what they based that decision on, though, because there's maybe part of 1 year you could have bought Daniel Jones. But beside the point, Indianapolis didn't even want to bother with Aaron Rodgers in the building. Nah, we got enough. Nah. So now the options are New York, like I said, kind of a mess, but a couple of young players that might be fun to play with, but it's a mess. Or Pittsburgh, the offensive averse team. Mike Tomlin, excellent coach. But, he's supposed to be known for handling all these great personalities, but he also tends to attract a lot of it. And who do they trade for in the offseason? DK Metcalf. Super talented wide receiver, but he's a diva, like a lot of wide receivers. He's a drama guy. To go opposite, their already drafted drama guy in George Pickens. They let go of Najee Harris, who's a really good running back. They still have a terrible offensive line. And the one thing we know about latter-day Aaron Rodgers is pressure, and he's chucking it in the dirt or he's checking it down. It's not going down the field. He's not zipping it. He's not going to stand in there and take a hit. And Arthur Smith expects quarterbacks to stand in there and take a hit as the offensive coordinator. Mike Tomlin, the Steelers, are you stand in there and take the hit and make the throw. Big Ben stood there and took the hits, made the throws. Aaron's not interested in that. He's interested in his stats. He's interested in his completion percentage. He's not interested in doing that stuff. So he'll go 25 of 29 for 187 yards with a 3.4 average or whatever, because it protects those percentages. He's not interested in risk. Because Aaron Rodgers is a lot like that really smart, successful guy we all know. Or girl, person, whatever. That person that's really done well for themselves. And they've done well for themselves because buried underneath that, there's some know-how. There's some hard work. There's a good bit of fortune and luck. But at some point, all of that success builds into an ego. And then ego becomes like, well, I just walk in the room and great things happen. And they just keep telling themselves that. And they tell enough people around them that, and nobody's there to tell them otherwise and put them back in the place a little bit. And then what happens? And they become too high maintenance. You don't really want to hang out with that person. You don't want to talk to that person. You don't want to deal with that person. Why? Because it's too much drama. It's so many issues. It could be a Salon magazine subscription. You don't want any of that. So Aaron Rodgers' options are Pittsburgh and New York. Good luck. Good luck with that is all I can say. I have a feeling it's going to drag on. It always does with him, it seems like. I mean, eventually the Packers just said enough. You know, the Jets sure enough said, no, we ain't doing this. Aaron Glenn walked in there and said, not having it. I may be going down. I ain't going down like that. Power to them for doing that. But that's the domino we'll keep talking about. We'll keep looking at till it lands in its next spot and, you know, does what it does, which I think is not going to be nearly what the career is worth. But that's Aaron Rodgers. It's almost NCAA tournament time. Conference tournaments wrapping up this weekend. Hey, man, there's been some good basketball in these conference tournaments. ACC, Big 10, Big 12, SEC, a lot of buzzer beaters, some overtime games. You're in the quarter to semifinal round, getting into the weekend, all the way to the finals on Sunday for most of these places. Going to be fun. Some good basketball out there. Going to affect the seedings? Maybe a little bit. The ones seem to be kind of locked at this point. Maybe most of the twos, but it's going to be interesting to see what regions they get put in, where the matchups might work out. This is when you start having bracket fun, right? Start getting out all the sheets, and you start becoming a expert in net ratings and KenPom and free throw percentage and how many fouls these guys get and all this stuff. It's wild to watch. You get around your office pool, right? I'm curious to hear like your craziest office pool like story. It's the person that won because they like picked the color of the jersey or they like the mascots or whatever. There's always one of those, right? Write the show, sportsballgrinder@gmail.com. Give me your craziest story, sportsballgrinder@gmail.com. I want to hear it as we get ready to talk about NCAA tournament. But it's always fun. It's always fun to get into these. Have fun with it. That's what I say. This is the time of the year when Sports America is turning its attention to college basketball. And it's going to be a good time. And then you transition right out of that, and we're almost NBA playoff time, which is when people really watch the NBA, except like diehards. And that's going to be fun too. Let's get into that. Las Vegas is host of the NASCAR race this weekend. Pennzoil 400. Christopher Bell trying to do something that hadn't been done since Jimmy Johnson did it in the 2007 season, I believe it was. 4 in a row. Bell's won 3 in a row. I don't think he can win again, but he gets another top 5. He's going to be in rare air. Should be a fun race, a mile and a half, tri-oval, a lot of good banking, good speeds. It's going to be a fast race. Should be a lot of fun. The NASCAR races have been wild this year. They really have. And not just because of all the accidents and the wrecks. It's the reason they're happening. I talked about this before. You got guys laying off the throttle in these early stages, and then that last one, they're just cutting it loose. And they get all into each other. We're getting 3 and 4 and 5 wide in places that's not meant to be. Auto racing is getting to be fun. Getting to be real fun. And to end on this note, shout out to Tiger Woods. Torn Achilles. Got to have surgery. Man, watching Tiger in his prime was a thing of beauty. You had to be there for it. Go back and check it out. It was unbelievable. Tiger's had his struggles too on and off the field. Those are well documented. Don't need to get into those here. But unlike a guy, say, like Aaron Rodgers, Tiger's rehabilitated his image pretty good. Maybe because he's in better control of it. Maybe because he's got people around him that can advise him well. I don't know. Probably a combination of all those things. But now he's playing just to he still wants to play and be around some of his friends, watch his son play. I can respect that. But boy, it's hard to watch your legends when they're going downhill. And it's tough to see Tiger hurt again, but he'll bounce back, I'm sure. It's not the last time we'll ever see him swing a golf club, but if you had dreams of someday Tiger's going to get back in the Masters, he's going to make it all the way to Sunday, I think those days are gone. Those days are gone. Don't get too lost in that, though. It's still an incredible career, a lot of fun. Tons of great sports out there for you to watch this weekend. We hope you're enjoying all of it. Thanks again for being a part here of the Sports Ball Grinder. Follow the show again on Facebook. You can check out the latest upcoming episodes and, of course, subscribe wherever you find this podcast. We'll be back again early next week to talk some NCAA tournament. We'll do a big bracket show, get into all of that. And then, of course, any other big news and notes in the sports world, we'll be here with you on the Sports Ball Grinder. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon.
Sports Ball Grinder.